When it comes to cinematic terror in the water, we've got sharks in the Pacific, we've got sharks in the Atlantic, and we've even got sharks in the streets of Los Angeles. Here are the shark movies you have to see before you die. Bait 3D is a 2012 Australian-Singaporean movie about people who survive a freak tidal wave only to be trapped in a partially submerged grocery store and hunted by a pack of bloodthirsty great whites. It sounds like a special breed of made-for-TV stupidity, but it's actually a surprisingly tense ride. The stranded crew must deal with robberies, sparks from split wires, being trapped on store shelves without an obvious way out, and of course plenty of close calls with carnivorous monsterfish. Bait's initial critical reception was lukewarm. It currently holds a 47% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but if you're the type of moviegoer who thrills at creature feature genre fare, you should find plenty to love here. A sequel called Deep Water, about a plane crashing in the Pacific Ocean, was planned for a 2014 release, but it was yanked from the schedule after it was decided that the plot was too similar to the Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 disaster. Still, the first one holds up well enough for a night in with a full bowl of popcorn. Technically, The Meg isn't really about a shark at all, but it's close enough that we absolutely had to include it. Based on Steve Alten's 1997 book Meg, a novel of deep terror, this goofy 2018 sci-fi thriller stars Jason Statham as the leader of a rescue mission that heads to the floor of the Pacific Ocean. That's where the characters run smack into a monstrous 75-foot megalodon, a prehistoric titan that makes great whites look like goldfish. It was thought to be extinct, but it turns out it is very much alive and very hungry. To give you an idea of how seriously to take this movie, there's a scene in which the characters watch the beast devour a humpback whale in a single chomp right outside their underwater research station. And there's another moment when they immobilize it by ramming into its midsection with a submarine. A swarm of smaller, more modern sharks that are attracted to its blood then set upon it like piranhas and eat it alive. The Meg is certainly no masterpiece, but it's more than enough fun to justify a watch. As Forbes critic Scott Mendelson put it, The Meg is fun, plain and simple. It's a polished B-movie that delivers the goods, if not the greats, and it's worth whatever your local theater charges for a weekend matinee. Is there anything more we can ask of a big-budget creature feature? Chomp away.
Be safe.
Yeah, thanks, pal.
The 2017 release, 47 Meters Down, explores the ultimate fear of anyone who's ever watched a video of a cage dive in shark-infested waters. What if the cable snaps? Well, there's that, and then there's also the fear of the sharks nudging their way between the bars. In this movie, the cable does indeed snap, and sisters Lisa and Kate quickly find themselves trapped with a dwindling oxygen supply on an ocean floor patrolled by hungry great whites. 47 Meters Down offers a great little twist on the typical shark movie formula that doesn't push things too far. It didn't blow every critic away, but the fact that this little shark flick had as much bite as it did was a surprise in and of itself. Variety's Joe Layden enthused, director Johannes Roberts' mostly underwater thriller is a compact and sturdily crafted B-movie that generates enough scares and suspense to qualify as, well, maybe not a pleasant surprise, but a reasonably entertaining one. There's no reason that Sharknado should actually work. Its title isn't a particularly clever play on words. This is literally a movie about a tornado filled with sharks that throws the beast all over greater Los Angeles, and a group of survivors who leap into their mouths with chainsaws. But surely you knew that already, and you probably didn't know how to feel about this movie when you first saw it. On the surface, it looks like any other schlocky made-for-TV sci-fi movie, but this one refuses to make the same mistakes others in its goofy genre do by taking itself even slightly seriously. It knows it's absurd. You can laugh at it, but it's right there laughing at itself right alongside you. Sharknado went on to win over the masses and even some critics as well. Bizarrely, it somehow currently holds a 78% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Without a doubt, it was one of the most talked about films of 2013. Once again, and we cannot stress this enough, this is a movie about a tornado filled with sharks. The New York Daily News' David Hinckley said it best when he declared, "Sharknado is an hour and a half of your life that you'll never get back, and you won't want to." But even a movie that subverts expectations this hard ultimately couldn't save itself from 5 lame sequels, each subject to increasingly diminishing returns. Still, the 2013 original is an utterly bizarre, gloriously brainless, wonderful little gem. We'll just come right out and say it. Alzheimer's experiments involving genetically modified animals rarely end well for movie characters. But we didn't have to wait for 2011's Rise of the Planet of the Apes to figure that out. We only needed to have seen Deep Blue Sea, a silly but thoroughly fun 1999 sci-fi horror flick in which genetically engineered super smart sharks rampage through an underwater lab. The enhanced shark brains that make these monsters so lethal invite just as many comparisons to Jurassic Park's velociraptors as they do to the big bad from Jaws. Good luck getting trapped in a sea lab with these things lurking around.
You ate my bird.
Deep Blue Sea was reasonably well received when it came out, but its legacy has grown even more with time. Writing for Wired in 2016, Brian Rafferty offered high praise, calling it, quote, the greatest non-Jaws shark movie of all time. This was thanks to its inventive action set pieces and fairly well-rounded human characters. Other moments, like Samuel L. Jackson's unforgettable death scene and the very idea of intelligent sharks, have led plenty of other viewers to declare Deep Blue Sea one of the best shark flicks ever made. After all, it's hard to argue with the combination of Sam Jackson and hungry animals. The Jaws series may be the earliest available proof that capturing lightning in a bottle once doesn't mean that sequels will be able to do the same. The franchise ultimately got crushed under the weight of diminishing returns with the release of joyless flops like Jaws 3D and Jaws the Revenge. But 1978's Jaws 2, in which the first film's Chief Brody faces off against another great white in a battle to save the lives of his stranded children and their friends, isn't half bad. It doesn't quite recapture the magic of the original, but it wasn't reasonable to expect it to in the first place. Jaws 2 is tense, well-acted, well-paced, occasionally funny, and jam-packed with all the killer shark action fans of the original had come to expect. There's a scene in which the shark leaps out of the water and literally brings down a helicopter, sending propeller shards through the sails of the stranded boats. And there's another in which we get to revisit Chief Brody's habit of killing sharks by jamming explosives into their mouths. What more could you want? Australia gets another entry on this list in the form of 2010's The Reef. After all, what other country could you trust to be an authority on the existential danger of nature? This movie follows a group of friends whose sailboat capsizes on their way to Indonesia. Naturally, a great white shark catches wind of this and decides to swim in to try to grab some lunch. One of the most notable aspects of this movie is that it features actual footage of sharks, as opposed to lifeless animatronics or cringeworthy CGI. Overall, The Reef works because it knows exactly what it is. It also knows what the limitations of its genre are, and it doesn't try to entertain beyond its means. It has a tight script with no fat to trim, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. A French review site put it perfectly when it declared, "The Reef turns out to be a good little friendly film that was able to demonstrate a good dose of realism and efficiency." Unlike a lot of other movies on this list, Open Water doesn't revel in gleeful, over-the-top absurdity. Instead, it's a gritty, tense, terrifying thriller that's loosely based on the true story of Tom and Eileen Lonergan, married scuba divers who were accidentally left behind by their dive group near the Great Barrier Reef and never seen again. Since little is known about what actually happened to the actual Lonergans, the makers of Open Water had to use their imaginations to tell its story. Of course, sharks are involved, and that may very well be the most obvious peril in a story about people stranded at sea, but it's not the only life-threatening problem. Scenes of the couple starving, struggling with extreme thirst and exposure, and being tortured by mental anguish as they wait for the inevitable all add to a sense of inescapable dread. By the time the sharks swing by, it's practically merciful. Critics heaped acclaim on the film, few of them praising it as highly as Roger Ebert, who raved, "Rarely, but sometimes, a movie can have an actual physical effect on you. It gets under your defenses and sidesteps the 'it's only a movie' reflex and creates a visceral feeling that might as well be real. So check out Open Water if you dare." It's the stuff of nightmares. Imagine being completely alone, stranded on the bloating carcass of a half-eaten whale while a great white shark prowls around with a whiff of your blood and an empty stomach. That's the situation that Blake Lively finds herself in The Shallows, an airtight, lethally crafted thriller that had critics cheering. Matt Zoller Seitz wrote on RogerEbert.com, "Lively is superb here, giving one of those hyper-focused, action-led performances that's as much an athletic feat as an aesthetic one." And IGN's Simon Thompson raved, "The Shallows does for surfing what the Blair Witch Project did for camping and makes Jaws look like a children's tea party. Played out with precision and skill, it delivers everything it suggests it will and then some. Terrifyingly good." It should come as no surprise that 1975's Jaws is the crown jewel on this list. What other choice could there have ever possibly been? Steven Spielberg's horror thriller masterpiece practically invented the modern blockbuster, and unlike a lot of decades-old classics, it still holds up today. For one thing, the script is well-paced and endlessly quotable.
Here's to swimming with bow-legged women.
The characters, from Roy Scheider's overwhelmed but determined Chief Brody to Murray Hamilton's sleazebag mayor, are believable and memorable. And Quint's speech about the very real shark attack on the crew of the torpedoed USS Indianapolis in World War II is one of the most unforgettable scenes in movie history. The scares still stand the test of time, and the practical effects have aged better than those in almost all of the bargain bin creature features that tried and failed to recapture the magic of this classic. The fate of the skinny-dipping girl in the beginning of the movie deserves a place among the most chilling scares in horror movie history. And we don't even have to mention that simple, unforgettable, dread-inducing theme, courtesy of the incomparable John Williams. We know you're already humming it to yourself. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.